Alright, my name is Bryce. This is my 2013 G37X. It has a Top Gun Speedworks Rotrex supercharger or Pro Charger right here. It's a C38R. So the air intake is here and it sucks the air up, comes up through here, goes into the Rotrex there, the Pro Charger, blows the air out this way, comes this way right here, goes into the top of the intercooler right here in the front, and then when it gets to the intercooler it goes two different ways, this way and that way, comes up, comes down this tube and that tube, and that's how it feeds the motor the boost. And right now I have a 13-pound spring in my wastegate. I'm running a wastegate because that was what I was informed to do by my tuner before. And it's only reading like 11.3 on the dyno. I'll post the chart up here in a second. And so it only made 11.3 psi. I'm assuming when it gets a little colder out, it might touch 12. I did put a new filter on it and I cleaned it, so maybe it'll help. So other than that, it also has a blow-off valve in there. You really can't see it. You can see the top of it right there. That is the blow-off valve. So the way I have this hooked up, I have a oil cooler for the car that goes to the sandwich plate where the oil filter is. That cools the motor oil. Then I have a supercharger and oil cooler for the supercharger that it runs off its own oil, Rotrex oil, which is right here. This stuff is actually like $120, I think, for a quart, which is crazy. So anyway, that goes in here. Comes in here. Comes in one of them and goes out the other one. Comes through the front. There's an oil filter for it, and then there's an oil cooler here, and then there's a reservoir right here that holds the oil and pumps it through the supercharger. And then I have a transmission cooler that's in the front that cools the transmission. So for the transmission, I'm running a Q60 transmission, and this car is all-wheel drive. So it's the all-wheel drive Q60 transmission on a G37 that comes from the factory all-wheel drive. So what they did was they put the transmission in and they reused the G37 transfer case and connected it to the Q60 transmission so that it's able to hook up into this car. And then they upgraded the flex plate in the transmission to handle the power. There's also a power steering cooler, but that comes with the car. And then we have the CJM fuel return kit, and we have a CJM, this is part of the CJM fuel return kit. This is the regulator, and I put the gauge, the fuel pressure gauge right there on that regulator. So these gauges, actually no one told me this before until I learned it on my own, but these gauges, if you put them here on this thing and they get hot, they do read inaccurate. If they get too hot, the oil in it will make the gauge read inaccurate. So just a little tip, whenever you're setting your fuel pressure, you do want to do it cold because they will get inaccurate when they get hot. So another thing, once you tune it with whatever fuel pressure you have it at, don't ever touch it again because they tuned it on that fuel pressure. So like I said, I'm running a fuel return kit. That's the fuel regulator. I also have a flex fuel sensor. The flex fuel sensor is right there. You barely can see it. So I am running flex fuel on this. I'm only on E40 right now, E45-ish, and I'm about to go pump some more E in it today, and hopefully I can get that up to about E70. And so I had to take my timing cover off and do my gallery gaskets, water pump, all my seals on this. I actually painted this timing cover black, as you can see, with it's like an engine paint, so it should withstand the heat. And then I did the PCV delete, so I got a filter here and a filter there, and I just capped right here and right there. As you can see, I just capped these right there. I capped that, and then I put filters on these ones. So that's how you go about doing that. And then there's also, as you can see here, I did a coolant delete on my throttle bodies. So you want to remove the lines going to both your throttle bodies, and the lines connect into the engine right there where I have that cap. So right there and right back here, there's another hose. You can't see it, but I have a cap in that as well, and it connects down back there into the motor. So those are the two places it connects into the motor, so that it circulates the coolant through the system. So you want to cap those two things so that it doesn't spray out. And then obviously you can just leave these open because there's no coolant in there no more, and you can remove the piping in the back because there's no need for it. So you want to do that so that you don't have hot coolant running through your throttle bodies. It's there for whenever winter comes around. It keeps them from locking up in the winter time. So I also did two-step colder spark plugs, and the reason that they do that is because what I was told was the two-step colder means that it would actually foul before it does something bad. I'm not really sure, honestly. We're gonna go with that. I have to do some more research on that. I'm not the smartest on that. So the way I have these hooked up, this one gets its pressure from the manifold. I have it hooked up right to the front of the manifold right here, instead of getting its pressure from this, because it's better to get it right from the manifold, because that tells you that's where the PSI is. And then that looks a little, should be good though. So then hook that up to the manifold, and then my blow-off valve is also hooked up to the manifold. So both those things are hooked up to the manifold. The fuel pressure regulator is also hooked up to the manifold via a T-fitting back here in the back. I just cut that line and put a T-fitting in, that little line that like 90s and loops back in. They have it on both sides. You can also do a boost gauge off of this side if you wanted to. And then other than that, so we got the Rotrex supercharger, the Q60 transmission, all-wheel drive. So it dynoed at roughly, it said 530 wheel, and I think it was 435 torque. And that was at 11.2 to 11.3 pounds of boost. And obviously in the colder weather, it goes up a little bit, and as I run more E in it, it'll go up a little bit, because like I said, I'm only running E40 right now. So once I get that E content up and the cold weather comes around, maybe I can get in the 12s. I've seen this kit hit 12.5 whenever I had my 2011 370Z that I used to have with this same exact kit on it, and you can check my YouTube out. I have it posted on there. That car was actually a blast to drive. That thing would not get grip at all though. I had 305s in the rear, but they didn't get very good grip because they were track tires. They were the Supercar F13Rs, and they were meant for the track. And when I bought them, I did not know this, so whenever it gets cold, they would get no traction. And so at 80 miles an hour, I was spinning in that 370Z. But that thing was a lot lighter and made a tiny bit more boost just because it was colder out. So this car is obviously heavier. Same kit, same wastegate, same spring. It's possible it could still make that 12.5 in the future, but we'll have to see. So as we go to the inside of the car, I did remove the seat I kept my back seat so we can have some friends. Got my phone holder, sunroof, and then actually right here, you can see I did a suede wrap throughout the car. And here's my camera. I got the Insta360X2 so we can take some nice footage, legal footage. Then we will work our way over here to the other side. And we're working with the suede again. And we sit down here and we have the nice paddle shifters that I installed. So we can click right past you and your girl in the car. We have snow mode, because like I said, this is all-wheel drive. And heated seats. And then that's pretty much it for the interior. This car weighs probably roughly, I want to say, with the seat out and the way it sits right now, I'm saying it weighs about 3,800 pounds. So it is a fairly heavy car. So if we want to move to these wheels and tires, I actually got these from a buddy of mine for very, very cheap, because I had the OEM rims on, but they were beat up and the tires were extremely bald, and I just needed some tires to put on this car before I boosted it. I do plan on going some bigger rims in the future, or either lowering the car on some coilovers. If you have any ideas, comment in the comment section and I'll read it. But I'm running two 55, 35, 18s on this car. Both front and back, 255s. And these rims, that's the name right there. You can give them a look up. I also plan on doing the whole body over. So right now I just focused on the motor, but I do plan on doing everything on the body. I do plan on lowering it, maybe different rims. I want the GTR headlights. I plan on redoing the body kit on this whole car and vinyl wrapping the whole car. A certain wrap that I've already got picked out, but I am not going to say what it is yet. We also have the black chrome delete that I did. I did that myself. So these trim pieces were on eBay for 35 bucks or 40 bucks. I got the whole package, front lip, side skirts, and back, for all 40 bucks.